Hey everybody, welcome back to Moving Forward, soon to be jaywalking. If you watched the last episode, then you got the news. The name will be changing. Jaywalking, stepping out in faith. And that should be coming really soon. So I'm excited about that. I can't wait to start sharing those with you. But today we're gonna go back to the grind with the sermon that I heard when I was in Ohio. You guys, something my pastor said, I think I shared this a few episodes ago, but one thing he said was sometimes God sends you somewhere for just one person. And that was the sermon where he was talking about Philip leaving his ministry that was successful and going south to the eunuch in the chariot, that he ended up just preaching to that one person and baptizing him. And that person started the church in Africa, which started so many other churches all the way down to Billy Graham. So when he sent me to Ohio, I thought, well, maybe he's just sending me there for one person, because I didn't know why I was supposed to go there. And Terry, which is my husband's cousin, lives there. And so I thought maybe it was for her. I didn't know what I would be going there for. Now there turned out to be lots of good stories, lots of good connections that I made there, and lots of seed that was sown. But honestly, I think the main reason for me going there was for me. Of course, God had it for me, because the sermon, you guys, that I heard, I had asked Terry before I went. I asked her two things. First, could she take off work, because I wanted her to be off the weekend I was there. And second, could we go to church? She works nights, and so she works 7 days a week, and she has not been able to go to church. So since she's moved back to Ohio, she had lived here in Arizona, she had not found a church home and doesn't really have time to go to church because she's working and then getting off work, in the middle of the church service or whatever. So she told me that yes, she was going to take off work. Thank you, Terry. And she was going to find a church. So one of her friends had been inviting her to church. And so she told her that we were going to come with her that day. And we did. We went and picked her up, and then we went to her church. And it was called New Hope Baptist Church in Painesville, Ohio. And Pastor Travis McQueen was the one doing the sermon, and it's the I Am series. It was part 7, so I think it maybe was the last one of the series, but it was called I Can't Make It Without Jesus, and it's out of the book of John, the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verses 1 through 5. So for his introduction, he used Psalm 124:1, and that says, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side. And he said the outcome can be totally different and disastrous when the Lord is not seated on the throne of our lives. And don't we know that's true, you guys? When we don't put him first and put him front and center, and we try to do it ourselves, it just does not work out the same way. And one thing I've been trying to do, just started this week, but I want to share it with you because it's a great thing to do, and maybe you'll want to do it too. But in your morning prayers, first thing I wake up, my eyes aren't even open yet. I'm conscious. I thank God for another day because he didn't have to wake me up. But in my morning prayer time, and I try to do prayer time every day by myself before my day starts. And I started asking God, show me where you're working and show me how you want me to participate. What is your heart's desire, and how do you want to use me today? And just asking that helps me to realize to be in alignment with God, but also to open my mind and my eyes to remember to look for the opportunities, right? It just brings it into a conscious awareness that I need to pay attention today and see where God needs me and see where he can use me. So I just thought that was a great question to ask. I think Christine Kane put that on one of her social feeds, and I saw it, and I thought that was a great thing to do. So in this sermon, it's about the vine. Jesus is the true vine, right? And something he said, which I hadn't really, I don't think, learned it this way before, But he said, why does Jesus say he's the true vine? And that's because Israel was the vine. Israel was the vine, but Israel wasn't obeying God, right? And so Jesus came and he said, I'm the true vine. Like, I'm the real deal. He can't fail. Israel failed and they didn't produce fruit. But Christ can't fail. So total dependence on him is necessary. And then God the Father is the husbandman. So that's the gardener. Husbandman is, I think, what the King James, maybe even New King James uses. But basically, he's the gardener. He's the vine dresser. He's the one that prunes the branches so that they bear more fruit. He takes away the dead branches, the ones that aren't producing anything, that are dried up, those people who claim they're Christian but they're not walking with the Lord. He prunes those off. Let's get rid of those to make the whole branch healthier. We don't need those ones hanging around that say they're Christians but they're just dragging us down. They're not really doing anything. And then he takes the branches that are bearing fruit and he even cuts them. Have you guys ever felt cut before? You feel like you're doing everything God tells you to do, and all of a sudden, pain to your heart, something happens, whether it's financial or medical or relational, something happens. He prunes us because he knows that we can bear more fruit. He has to prune us back so that we can bear more fruit. And so that's what he does. And he says in verses 4 and 5, Jesus' declaration concerning us, we must abide, which means to stay, to reside, to continue in a certain state, in a certain condition or a certain activity. So Jesus tells us we have to abide in him. We have to stay in him. It's a day-to-day thing, step by step. We have to keep doing it. We can't do Christianity on our own terms. So many people say, well, I don't really have to go to church. I just go walk in nature and that's my church. That's awesome. And God's there and he loves that you do that and that you appreciate that. But he also says not to forsake the assembling of yourselves together. So we still need each other. We're built for community and we need to go to church. We can't do Christianity on our own terms. He says that only produces wax fruit. I thought that was genius, you guys. Because there's fruit there. You can see it. It looks like an apple. It looks like an orange. It's shiny and pretty and looks delicious. But it's not real. It's just wax. There's nothing there. It looks good, but when it's tested, there's nothing to it. And we don't, any of us want that, right? We don't any of us want that kind of fruit. So Christianity professed but not lived out is not abiding. You can't say you're a Christian but not live like a Christian. That's not abiding. So, just walking the walk when you're in church or when you're around your church friends, but not acting the same way when they're not around, maybe when you're with work friends or neighbors or whatever else. If you act two different ways, you better check yourself. So you don't want to improvise or invent your own standards. But he says, for as much as this people draw near to me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precepts of men. So that's out of Isaiah 29:13, and that's just what he's saying. You can't say you're following Jesus, but then really be making up your own terms as you go and doing it your own way. So here's some questions. He says, are you abiding in him or just improvising according to yourself or your flesh? If you have more self-justifications than biblical truth convictions, you may just be improvising. So think about that. If you can justify all the things, people say, well, you need to go to church, but you justify why you don't. Things like that. So if you can think of things that you justify, you might want to look at yourself. If you are biblical wisdom resistant and theologically unteachable, you may be improvising. If according to Psalm 19:14, the words of your mouth and the meditations of your heart are unacceptable by choice, you may be improvising. So, you know that song we sang when we were kiddos, be careful little mind what you think and be careful little eyes what you see. What choices are you making about what you think about what you watch, about what you listen to? Because if the meditations of your heart and the words of your mouth are unacceptable by choice, you might be improvising. If you're choosing those things over godly things, better check yourself. So he says, the Lord Jesus is the source and the sustainer of everything. We know that is true. We can't make it without him. And he is faithful to use me when there's less of me and more of him. So how can there be less of me? Less of me means, oh, that show that I want to watch on TV that everybody's talking about, oh, but they keep using the Lord's name in vain. I'm going to turn that off. That's less of me, more of him. That's just one example, but there has to be a line drawn in the sand where you say, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm not going to watch that, or I'm not going to listen to that. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to spend time in prayer because it's important. It honors God. I know I don't have a lot of time in the morning, but I'm going to maybe not fix my hair and makeup because I'm going to spend that time being in the Word. That's less of me and more of him. There are just things you can do. You can probably think of some yourself, but there are things you can do to have less of you and more of him. And then the Lord Jesus Christ gives significant and relevant importance to living this life. He says, for without me, you can do nothing. And that's so true. I told you I thank him the minute I'm conscious for waking me up. I can't wake myself up. I can't make myself breathe air or make my lungs work or my heart beat. I have no control over that. He does. He does. Without him, I can do literally nothing. So, yeah, I can't make it in this life without him. Having purpose for what I do and what I go through is important. And you know, they say that the 5 people that you spend the most time with are going to influence your life the most. So think about who those 5 people are in your life. Are they drawing you closer to Christ or pulling you further away? Are they positive people, optimistic, complimentary, encouraging, or are they negative, pessimistic, complaining, glass half empty type people? Think about who those 5 people are and make adjustments where necessary. Make adjustments where necessary. You know, one of my people was a family member, and that was hard for me. But this person was very negative and very complainy and not very optimistic or appreciative or encouraging. And even though they are a believer, I found I needed to spend less time with them because it was draining me. And I hadn't realized that till I thought about who are my 5 people? Who are my 5 people that I spend the most time with? And then I took a hard look at each one of those to see, are they helping and encouraging me to draw closer to the Lord, or are they pulling me further away? And then I had to make those adjustments and choose new people for my circle, because that small circle, that inner circle is really, really important, you guys. And so I hope you'll take a look at yours this week and make sure that you're abiding in him, and that you are looking for ways to have less of you and more of him, and that you're looking at those 5 people in your inner circle that you spend the most time with. And it can be in person or on the phone or on text, whoever you're communicating the most with. That would be the 5 I would think about, and think about how they're affecting your life and how are you affecting theirs. Think about that too. Are you the complainer? Are you the one that needs to change the attitude? Maybe. So take a look at yourself as well. And then next time, I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to launch the Jennifer J or change it. It's coming soon. And we will keep trusting, keep moving, and never walk alone. I'll see you next time on Moving Forward. Bye-bye.